And we're live. All right. So anybody that's on, make sure post in the comment section here below. Let me switch this over. Post in the comment section here below if I'm having any kind of audio issues. I know I've had it in the past. Hold on. All right, cool. So today's episode, what we're going to do, I have not done a live session in a while, and I thought it would be great to catch up on a lot of the comments that I've been getting on the channel. So thank everybody for putting those in there. Then also, if anybody has any questions, throw them in the live chat. Whoa, how's it going, man? But any kind of questions there. And then I'm also going to go through a couple of articles that I've thought were interesting. So that's kind of going to be what we're going to look through. I'm doing pretty good, man. I've actually pretty excited. We haven't done a live session in a while, so it's going to be fun. And then also, I've got a long weekend this weekend, so maybe going to get in a longer run or something like that. So, hey, so let me go ahead and post some of these here in the chat. So check this out. I don't know if we have any soccer fans or football. I don't know. There's two articles. One of them was shared with me by a coworker, the one about Joe Rogan. But I thought these were really interesting articles. So first one, let's go through the one about data analytics and soccer or football. So really cool when they were talking about how Liverpool has kind of embraced data analytics and really kind of used it to, really just transform the organization, not just from a business perspective, but in, how they're evaluating players and everything that's going on. So I thought that was really cool. Hear my dog. I thought that was really cool because of the fact that he's running around with a chew toy. I thought that was really cool just from the perspective of, we've seen analytics being used for all different areas. And I know, there's been a big thing in baseball for a couple of years. There was a movie came out based off of a book where, I think it was the Athletics. So the Oakland Athletics used data analytics a lot to just kind of really evaluate players and kind of decide how they were going to go. So it was pretty cool to see it being used in soccer and some of the other things. So my opinion on Spark on Kubernetes, I haven't used that before, but I do have a couple of videos that are coming out to really talk about Docker and, well, not just Docker, but containerization. So I think that if you're a data engineer, somebody looking to get into that area, I think more and more the role is going to be about what we can do from a containerization perspective. So using Kubernetes, using Docker, those types of things. I think those are going to be pretty big. So you're currently using it. See, yeah. If you start to see, like, I did a video, I guess it's been about a year now, where we talked about Hadoop 3.0, and you see a lot of the changes that came out from Hadoop, but even like with Hortonworks and Cloudera, where they're really trying to push and move towards supporting containerization, right? So supporting containerization for yarn, scheduling, and some of the other things. So currently using as part of my practice. Yeah, I mean, I definitely, I think we talked about it with some of my goals for this year for myself, just personal learning and learning more about containerization and Docker and even, probably even Kubernetes. That was kind of on my list toward the end of the year. So I still think that's a really good area to look into and kind of jump in, especially if you're, just joining in the data engineering community, or you specifically want to be more on the administrator side. I think that's going to be more and more of, you're going to see kind of, the operationalization where you're using more Dockerization, more, containers and everything like that. So trying out this new cold brew that I've just tried. So pretty good. So the next article, really interesting or scary, depending on where you're at. So check it out. It's the AI generated Joe Rogan fake. So Joe Rogan, probably one of the most prolific, probably maybe even the most popular podcaster out there. So by being prolific, there's a ton of data out there. And so what happened is somebody trained a model to be able to create a deep fake that sounded just like Joe Rogan. So you can go through, watch the videos. There's some language in them, but I think everybody if you've heard of Joe Rogan, you know his podcast has a lot of language in it anyway. But it's really creepily good. And the surprising thing is you listen to it and you're like, oh my gosh, that sounds just like Joe Rogan. But then when you see Joe Rogan's comments where he's like, man, I've got so much stuff out there, none of this surprises me, and he kind of just goes on. It's like, what? So it's pretty cool. Looking into the device you posted, is that the same thing? So I know what you're talking about. So on LinkedIn, I posted the Jetpack. So that's an Nvidia one. I don't have that one in just yet, but I will show you this. I've got these compute sticks. So I'm going to say it wrong, Movidius, but it's an Intel company. And so I've got a video that I'm going to do where I'm going to do an unboxing and kind of walk through using some of those. And then the Jetpack is on my list too. So the Jetpack is an Nvidia device, similar to. It's easy to say that it's a Raspberry Pi, but it's similar. Has a GPU on it. There's a lot of cool things that you can do with those as well. So that's something I definitely would recommend, and I'm very interested in. So also, let me go through. What we wanted to do is go through some of the comments today. So go through, check out what's been going on, and see what we have from a comment section. All right, so some of the first ones. All right, so here's one coming in about a few days ago. It says, "Hey, sir, I'm a big fan. Thanks for the video. I've just completed my basic information technology, but I don't like coding. Can you give me some suggestions that do not require coding in big data or Hadoop?" We've talked about that a couple different times on here. If you're really looking for, some we'll call it non-technical roles within big data, I think you're going to find it around compliance and some of the typical things you see with project, right? So you can be a PM and not be technical from the perspective of you're not doing any coding, you're probably not deploying Hadoop or Kubernetes or anything like that. You're not deploying code or deploying the applications on infrastructure, but to know that process and know kind of as you're a project manager, you kind of get a gut feel for how long some of these things take and be able to understand and run through risks. So there's opportunities there from the project perspective. There's also opportunities in the security realm. So what are you doing from the perspective of making sure that you're following policy and good practices with your big data deployments and just those portions. So those skills are always needed. And then there's a lot of skills where from a data analytics perspective, I mean if you're pretty good with SQL, I won't per se that's necessarily coding, but maybe some light SQL skills. Maybe get into the data visualization. So if you're a visualization person, maybe there's an opportunity there to be able to build and do things. And we've talked a little bit about some other tools that kind of abstract away code and even abstract away SQL queries. So tools like Tableau, or I'm actually going through some stuff with with Splunk, where it just allows you to visualize and take those tables and build things out. So pretty interesting. Do I have any videos that involve Spark in a multi-node cluster using Docker containers? No, I do not. I don't have any. I don't even think I've done any specific Spark videos, from a demo perspective. And I'm trying to think. I don't even think I've done anything in Pluralsight with doing any of those types of videos. So I think that would be pretty interesting to kind of go through and be able to deploy that maybe in the newer series I'm trying to work through where I do demos. So maybe that's a good suggestion for that. No, I don't know if anybody per se has any of the Spark on Kubernetes or Docker videos in Pluralsight. So that may be one area. I'm working my way through. You've probably seen. Let me see if I can find it real quick. So I'm working my way right now through. There we go. So I'm working my way right now through just building out the Splunk courses. So I just finished up the installing and configuring Splunk. So this is my first venture into a learning path. So a learning path is where, we'll take and you'll kind of take a deep dive on a specific topic. So, the first one was installing and configuring, next comes search and some other things there too. So that's something that I'm working on right now just to kind of go through. So, but I'm sure there are other people, maybe I'll reach out and see what's going on from the perspective of what's going on in Spark. So let me see, go back here to our questions. See, here's a good one too. So this one came in the past few days from Mercedes. With all the cloud vendors offering large storage, and is Hadoop for organizations dying? So that's a very interesting question around. Hey, what's going on with Cloudera and Hortonworks? You can see that there's pressure on them. It seems like, and they were able to merge together to kind of create a united front. Because if you go and look, like you go to Azure, you go to GCP, so Google's cloud platform, or you go to AWS, they're all different kinds of analytic flavors. And so, yes, you can spin up and do similar thing, their versions of Hadoop that, incorporate the open source pieces. But then there's also the modules where you can go through and build your own kind of analytics platform. So think of it as kind of like analytics as a service, right? Or, if you really want to get down to it, it's pretty essentially software that's running on their infrastructure, right? So it gives you the ability to train models without having to build out your Hadoop environment, or build out your large data sets and install TensorFlow and everything like that. So it just kind of abstracts away all that, and there's a charge for that too. And so it brings up a good question on hey, with all this and kind of the speeding ahead towards more analytics as a service, I mean, is Hadoop still viable when we talk about that? And I know we've done videos around Hadoop and where it is in 2019, and is it going away? And I don't think it's going away, but to say that, how's the popularity for analytics as a service in the cloud versus Hadoop? That's a very good question, right? And that's why I encourage people on this channel to continue to learn new different things. So, what Spark certifications would you recommend? I think we've talked a little bit about some of those before. I'll come back to them. I think if you go and look some of the Databricks certifications, I think those are really where, those are kind of based out of Spark and some of the other things. There's like the Spark certification. I don't know if it's still viable with Cloudera, and I think Hortonworks had one too, but I have not checked in the last couple of months since, everything's kind of shaken out from the merger around what they have from a certification perspective. AWS Big Data Specialist certification, good to pursue for a data engineer. I think it'd be perfect to pursue that specific certification if, you're looking to stay in the AWS area. If your organization is doing AWS, then, definitely being familiar with those types of applications, I think those are good. And I will say, I worked to it and jumped in a little bit. And one of the things that they were that they dropped a requirement for with AWS is, used to AWS Big Data Specialist certification, you had to have one of the other certifications, right? You had to have like at least an associate's from AWS developer or solutions architect. I've got my associates in AWS solutions architect. So, you had to have that, but I believe they've dropped that away. And I think that's been out there for about 6 months or maybe a little bit longer. So yeah. So yes, perfect. So no, you don't have to have an associates anymore. I will say, coming from being a Hadoop data engineer and working, with deploying it with Hortonworks or even Cloudera, to jump right into the AWS certification, I think that the requirement of making me have to go through the associates was very, very valuable for me. So just to be able to go through and see, So, and then also, I was looking. I just did a. I was fortunate to be able to do the keynote at O'Reilly's AI conference in New York, and with that came that actually got a free like a year subscription or something like that to O'Reilly's learning platform. So I was kind of looking around as I was getting that, and then they've got a lot of information around the machine learning engineer. So I've seen that. Has anybody kind of looked at that? That'd be kind of interesting to know if anybody's looking at pursuing that or taking that. I know that's probably more in the data science realm. I'll be honest, I haven't looked into it just yet. But I think, if you look at the big data specialty, that's probably more specific to data engineers. I would think the machine learning engineer is going to help, more for the data science, but, for no reason if you're not interested to do both. But I'm going to look into that. That's something after I get through a couple things that I'm working on here in the next couple of months. I think that's going to be, something I'm going to look into, just see what all the requirements are for that. Just fairly interesting. So you have the solutions architect too. Yeah. So I don't know what your background was. My background, like I said, was not in the AWS area. So, to jump in and go into it from a solutions architect, it really kind of helped me out. And, some of it too with it is just, hey, defining what, defining what, S3 and all these different pieces are, so that, whenever you spin up your environment, you know how to troubleshoot if you don't have network access, right? If I can't SSH into it. So, I thought that was very, very valuable for me. Let me see. Oh, looks like my little brother has joined, aka my editor. So, how's the sound, Chris? You out there? Yeah, it was the first time you had entered in the cloud too. So yeah, so there you go. Well, I say that, but I'd used Azure a good bit too. So if you watch some of my Foresight videos, I actually used Azure, and I spun up like some of the. I think I've got a video out there on it, but I spun up the Hortonworks sandbox in Azure so that I didn't drain all the resources on my local machine while I was trying to record for my Foresight courses. So I think I did I think that Splunk course, a portion of it, especially the Hadoop one. So my first Splunk course, I used Azure for it. Oh, the lighting's good, huh? Yeah. So we tried. Let me see what else we got here. All right, so I got some good comments here around the data engineering, why data engineers should have a blog. And so I kind of said that it was the part one of the series. I really want to do a step by step and show how to build out a blog real quick. So I got thanks for the inspiration. Eagerly waiting on the next series. And then another one, a little bit off topic of that, but just in general. So what do I need to know to build a deep learning framework? Please tell me courses and books. Please answer. All right. So that's a very long answer. I will try to do it pretty quick here, but I think using a deep learning framework is something that you want to look into, and you want to look for something that's going to abstract away. So I think everybody's heard me say it a couple different times. I put it in the comment or the chat center here, but the course I did around TF Learn, I think that's a great way to start. I took it from a data engineer's approach to deep learning, and I have background in Python and programming and everything like that, but not per se background with machine learning from the perspective of being able to go in and decide, hey, we're going to build out this model. It's going to be able to tell from the MNIST data set, if it's a 3 or an 8 or whatever the handwritten digits are. So I didn't really have that background, but I took that course to mean like, hey, how are we going to implement and use these, right? Because maybe we're going to be working hand in hand with a data scientist where we're not really trying to implement and trying to, make all the decisions for it, but we're more pushing and developing the code for the models that we're building. So I took that kind of approach to it. Definitely, used TensorFlow, but it used an abstraction layer above TensorFlow with TF-Learn. But I think to kind of do that question more justice, I'll do a specific video on it and try to go through it. So I thought that was a good question. I want to come back to the blog question, the blog video that I did. I think the next one, I think it would be beneficial, but if everybody on here wants to comment, what I was thinking about doing is I bought a couple domains yesterday, kind of looking at some stuff. And so what I was going to do is kind of show how quickly you can build out a blog and some ideas for content. So I've got one. I said I bought 2 domains. So I've got some videos that everybody's probably seen, like the video that came out yesterday. So I do a lot of things with, I work on a team that's called the Unstructured Data Team. And so I've done a lot of videos specific to, whether it be Isilon or ECS or some of the products that we have. And so, I've got a good library for those. I've been just publishing those with this YouTube channel, the Big Data, Big Questions. And I've also written some blogs on thomashenson.com for it. But what I was thinking about doing is taking all those and giving them their own domain. So that's kind of the idea that I had for the blog. Is like, hey, if you want to learn how to start a blog, and I think it's very important, there's a quick way to do this. And so I can go through showing, purchasing, using the host that I use. So I use DreamHost. I'll go through, publish that, and put in, probably install WordPress and install a nice looking theme. And I don't know, the whole point is I want to see it done in like 20 minutes. I don't know. I don't know if I can. I really think I can. And then like have one post moved over, right? So I can show, copy and paste in the post that I did from a video. So any plans on starting a course on Big Data Architect? That'd be a really good one. I think, there's a lot of different approaches that you can do for that. So plans on that, let me see. Right now, for the most part, my focus is on Splunk a little bit. So I have had plans on that. I honestly would like to do a course specific to, big data architects, data engineering and that. So I do have some plans for that, but not in the near term. So it'd be great if I was able to knock that out in 2019, but I don't know, just with just scheduling and everything. But that's a great one there. So what would you like to see from that? That's good feedback. Also, I do have plans to finish out one of the videos series that I did where we kind of left off with the Hortonworks data platform. So I'm going to try to do that. And then I really hadn't even opened this thing yet because I want to do the unboxing. So if you're looking for demos that are going to be here on YouTube, look for the neural compute stick demo. And then I'm going to finish up the demo where we started out with the HDP. So, we started out just kicking off, downloading the sandbox and walking through some of the demos. Now I want to do a deep dive. I think there's some IoT demos and some Hive demos. I think those would be pretty good. So anything like that, let me know, put them in, put it in the chat session here in the comment section, and we'll definitely go. So, man, I think it's 9:31 Central Time here. So I think I'm going to end this session today. I'm excited that everybody jumped on. Like I said, it's been a long time since I've done a live session. I wanted to catch up. Maybe the next one I'll kind of catch everybody up on some of the stuff that I've been working on the last month and a half. And then also it's a long weekend this weekend, and I've got a trail series that I'm training for, and I think I'm going to do some videos on that. My brother is at the beach for his long weekend. That's great. But I'm gonna jump in, and I've got to go do some training for that. And I found out today, I forgot. Today is my 11-year anniversary, so I've got to go make up for that and go find a card. So Hotlanta, man, I'm in Hotlanta a good bit actually. So yeah. So yeah, we'll definitely, there's some meetups and some other things that I'm involved in Atlanta, and so I'll definitely send out some information. Like I said, I've been to a couple of the big data meetups over there, and you were asking a good bit of the Spark questions. I think there's some Spark meetups if you use the Meetup app that I've joined into. So thanks. Well, thanks everyone. Everybody have a great weekend. Do something fun. Make sure you learn something as well. But man, it's some really good weather in a large part of the U.S. right now. So if you're in the U.S., make sure you get outside, get some sun, do something active. So thanks everyone.